Hello, and welcome to She Rises, the podcast where women in leadership take center stage. I'm Tiffany-O, your host and the founder of Virtual Partner, where we champion humanity in the workplace to build thriving organizations. With over 30 years of experience in change management and servant leadership, I'm here to bring you powerful stories, actionable insights, and inspiring conversations with trailblazing women who are breaking barriers and redefining success. Whether you're climbing the corporate ladder, leading your own venture, or looking for that next level of impact, this is your space to learn, to grow, and to rise. Let's dive in. Today, we're honored to have Dr. Carol Simmons, affectionately known in Philadelphia as Doc. Now, Doc is a distinguished leader at the International Institute of Advanced Instruction. Now, that's a platform dedicated to advancing educational excellence and innovation. Her work focuses on aligning educational strategies and global standards and fostering an environment where both educators and students can achieve their fullest potential. That doesn't stop there. She has created connections in the community that will make differences for generations to come. So let's dive into her journey and discover the transformative insights she has to share. Welcome, Doc, or affectionately known as Beans to me.
Yes.
You are
Greetings and grand rising, my beautiful niece. I am so proud of you. You're just making inroads into areas that are so critical, particularly for women that have a voice. And thank you for inviting your Auntie Beans.
How could I not? So for you, all of you who are watching, Doc, that's how everyone knows her at the Institute in Philadelphia. She's gotten several awards from the mayor, community, city council, you name it. Doc has made her mark and left a legacy. However, what you don't know is she was my first employer. As a teenager, Doc has been a serial entrepreneur, but she's also always been doing leadership development. She saw something in me and she was like, Tiff, she was like, baby, this is when I was young. I worked in her restaurant. She owned a restaurant in Philadelphia as an early entrepreneur. And she said, now she taught me work ethic. She taught me all about how to run the business, how to serve customers. Beans, you taught me so much that is really impacting my business today and how to think about people. Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to say to you that the entrepreneurial buzz that you had bug in your stomach, you passed it along to me, but also this thought about growing and growing as a woman in business. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure. You were a wonderful student. You did everything I suggested. And folks, I worked her very hard and she never complained. So I thank you for that.
So now, as CEO of the Institute, tell us, you were just telling me how many years you're beyond retirement age, but you're still going along. How old are you now? And
I'm embarking toward my 80s, but next month, February, I'll be 79 years young and still going strong. And this morning, I just finished the grant. I was trying to get it done before I had to come on the podcast. So I'm going strong, and I'm very appreciative that I have clarity of thought, everybody.
I love it. So talk to me. I know that, I've come and helped you with the nonprofit.
Yes.
You've written many, many, many grants over the years. But I'm so impressed that you have made such a mark in moving underrepresented and underserved communities and untapped potential. You've gotten them on the radar. What inspired you to move from education in the formal setting where you were a dean and a principal in a school to moving towards creating the International Institute for Advanced Instruction? What inspired you to do that, and what challenges did you face along the way?
Well, the Institute was really about healthy choices. Healthy choices incorporates everything in your life. As you know, Tiffany, I'm plant-based. I've been plant-based over 50 years. So At the Institute, Monique and I wanted to do things that help our community to stay healthy. And that's why I can say, going on 79, that I feel good, going strong, and I know that's because of the way I have lived over the years. But the Institute has a broad base. Healthy choices is not just about food, it's about everything we do. And to be able to make those solid choices that will enhance not just our lives, but those around you. So I'm saying to the folks out there, to your listening audience, it's not about you. It involves you, but it's not about you. And if you can do it in a way that is for the whole community, it makes a difference. I know Tiffany's going to mention this, but I'm going to say it now. I taught a leadership course at Lincoln University. And when I presented this concept, I said the goal, the mission is the leader, not the person. Well, they just could not wrap their heads around that concept. But let me say this, Tiffany. If you allow the goal and the mission to totally be the leader, you eliminate any type of conflict because the goal and the mission is pure. It doesn't know jealousy, it doesn't know envy, it is not negative, it's always positive because it has one mission to get done whatever the goal is. It really does work because with the Black Farmers Cooperative that I'm the executive director of right now, I have preached that and they buy into that vision. Everybody says, what is the goal? What are we trying to accomplish? Be amazed how leadership works so well that way. Plus, as the executive director, I'm transparent. I let my team know everything that's going on. I even tell them how much funds we have. And I get them to decide how we're going to spend the funds. My team has a voice in everything we do. And that means they're bought into the vision. You'd be surprised how that helps the organization to move.
Oh my goodness. You just sent chills down my spine, Auntie. I know we're on a professional podcast, but Doc is Auntie, right? So, um, but this is powerful because I was on a call earlier this morning with an organization in the UK, and I'm going to be joining them as a subject matter expert. And their work helps to redefine and recreate visions and missions for organization. So I asked, so what about the people? And how do you get the people on board? And
Right.
that's the piece that I'm going to be working with them on. But it's so interesting when you talk about the mission and the goal and the vision. When you can build coalition around that, there's less friction and there's more team we instead of team me.
Yes, you got it. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you
I
got
love
to
them.
the point.
Yeah, that's the point. I heard you say this when I was giving the talk for the Unstoppable 100 in Columbus, Ohio. And I called you before that talk to give me a pep talk and to give me some words of wisdom to share with those young girls. It was supposed to be young girls and executives mentoring and patched and paired. And I'll never forget you mentioned that to me, and it really, really did stick. But I want to dial back a moment because we also talked about my motivation and your big sister, my mother, right? So we talked a little bit about her journey, and you both had different journeys, right? You have your PhD, you went to the, undergrad, you got your master's, your PhD, you're an executive director, you're the CEO of a nonprofit, you've been a dean, a vice principal, a principal, you've done like all the things, entrepreneur, like all the things. You've created a legacy and you're creating a legacy.
Yeah,
My mom struggled, right?
yeah,
She went to a clerical school, which is different.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then she went right to work in
yeah,
corporate, and she struggled.
yeah,
And her story but inspired me because despite her struggle, remember I was trying to piece together the timeline with when she became an engineer for Verizon, and when she crossed that bridge and
Yeah.
the struggle she had. Do you recall anything about that time period and what it was like for women in the workplace when mom was going through that? She was your big sister.
Yes, Barbara, she was my big sister. I love her dearly. She started at Beltel right out of high school. She worked her way up from being an operator, the old school, y'all. She plugged in, used to plug to make calls, and she moved through the company. And finally, they had exams, tests for people to move up. And Barbara, we're a smart family. I got to say it. She took the test and she passed with flying colors, and they had to promote her. I'll never forget. And when she retired, she was still working as an engineer for Bell Telephone, and she made her inroads. She stood her ground, and she was very, very successful and retired and lived many years after retirement.
She
Yeah,
did. I'll never
yeah.
forget when she got her high-rise apartment in Bethesda, Maryland. And
Mm.
she said, Tiff, she says, baby, it's always been my dream to live on the top floor and look over the city. She loved living at she lived at the Metropolitan, right in downtown Bethesda. She loved retirement. We enjoyed being with her. But one of the things, like with you, that inspired me about mom, she never put before me limiting beliefs. She, I,
No,
my husband says to this day, you speak as if you can do anything. and,
we
and,
can.
and we
We
can.
can.
But
Yeah.
but my mother, along with I would love, unfortunately, our grandmother, the story there is I didn't know grandmother, but obviously the environment that you women grew up in, you didn't have limiting beliefs because look at you, Doc, and then Aunt Aline, she also got her master's degree. She became a teacher in the school system. Mom was an engineer. But my mother always made me believe that I could do anything, and she spoke positivity into me all the time. Whatever I wanted to do, she made me believe I could do it, and she got behind me as a cheerleader. So I'm so grateful to her and grateful to you and Auntie's leadership, Aunt Eileen's leadership too, and helping all of us girls grow up. We have a big family of women for those that are watching.
Yes.
And so this podcast called She Rises is all
Yeah.
about how women rise. And it's when other women get behind you, and not just women, but
Yes.
men too. We've had our brothers, our husbands, our partners, those
The
in your
whole
community.
community.
Yes, that
The whole
support
community.
us.
But I want to share, as I was growing up, and Barbara was 7 years older than I. So she had more like my second mother. But when I was about 13, I had a jewelry business. When I was 14, we did hay rides. But I want to say that the community, Miss Geraldine that lived down the street, Miss Madeline that lived down the street, the community came together to encourage us. And my mother and grandmother, which I grew up with my grandparents and my mother and father, always encouraged us to do whatever we wanted to do. I was always running to my mom, I'm going to do this. I have a jewelry business. And my mother always encouraged us. So I started at a very young age with this idea I could do anything. And when I think about it, Tiffany, I've done a lot, but I don't really think about it anymore. I just keep it moving. I keep it moving.
I will never
I want to
forget.
say
Yes.
one more thing about Barbara. Barbara had a tremendous sense of humor. She was hilarious. She would tell me jokes. She would laugh. We always had a good time. And when I had to go back home to the family home, and I stayed home about 2.5 years. I was there with you, Tiff.
Oh, yes. At a pivotal time in my life, you were there. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And I told Barbara, I said, Barbara, I'm moving on. I thank you because I shut my restaurant down, and then I came home for a couple of years, and she told me she didn't want me to leave. That's the best compliment. Listen, folks, When you go home and you live with your family and they don't want you to leave, you know you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's right. So I cut you off, Tiffany. I'm sorry you
No,
wanted to ask
we did
that.
not want you to leave. No, we did not. And but I have to say, when you left in grand style. I mean, you moved out to Delaware Avenue. You had an amazing.
Yeah, I did. I did. I love the good style, you
Oh,
know.
I'll never forget when you had that amazing place at the Packard in Philadelphia. I mean,
Yes,
you
yes.
really exposed me as a young girl to living well, right? Not just eating well, but living well and being whole and happy. And I'm so grateful for that. When I think about success, it's not just dollars and cents in your business, but it's your whole life, right?
It's your whole being.
Yes.
And happiness comes, listen, audience, happiness is within. It has to permeate from deep down in your gut and come up. No one can make you happy. You have to make yourself happy. They can enhance it. Your husbands, your boyfriends, your siblings, whoever, they enhance your happiness. So do the things you want to do in life that make you happy and keep it moving.
Mm.
There are no limits. But I do want to share the story. I had just finished my master's at Temple University. And while I was doing my master's, I had to take two electives. So I took two electives in a doctoral program. So I wanted, I was jumping ahead. And I went to the dean and I said, I'm really thinking about staying here at Temple University. And I'm calling it, this is the true story. And the dean said to me, and I quote, he said, "You are too aggressive to be an administrator." Yes. I walked out. I never looked back. I went and I applied to Morgan State University for the doctoral program, and I never looked back. My point is, whatever anyone says to you, you have to stand on your own mark.
Mm.
You have to stand on what you know is right for you. No one else can dictate. Now, you have a mentor, they can suggest, but that final decision is yours. And I walked out, I let it roll off my back
Mm.
because I knew I had other options.
Mm.
And I went on down to Morgan State University and got embraced and had a wonderful experience.
What do you think was that a systemic barrier or could have potentially been a systemic barrier? How what was that happening there? Was that a microaggression? Was that what was that? And was it only for you as a woman of color? Was that a good piece of advice? Like what was going on there and are other women getting that too today?
Yes, I think what was going on was that people have a certain perception of people.
Hmm.
They just do. And they don't reflect or question. He never even questioned saying that to me. He was perfectly comfortable in saying that to me, not knowing me. I
Hmm.
went to him for to see if I could move to the next level, and he just cut it off. But the most important thing is I walked out, my head held high. I said, well, I'm going someplace else because this is not the only school in the universe. And you got to think like that. You have to think beyond where you are, that there's other opportunities.
I'm taking from that a couple lessons, Auntie.
Mhm.
One, that is the volume of our voice should not be diminished by the tonal capacity of others, right?
Yeah,
So whatever it is, don't let people dim your light or
right.
tone down your voice
Or move you off your mark.
or move you off your mark. Now, there are times where people, our mentors, give us advice that'll help us navigate a space.
Yes,
As women of color, sometimes our directness is often confused with aggression. Whereas if it
yes,
were a male, a white male, it would not be aggressive, right?
Right.
So we're learning, we do have to learn in some spaces like how to pivot and navigate different audiences. But sometimes that feedback, if it's not given in a good spirit, can crush your voice.
Yeah.
And what
Can
I'm
crush.
hearing you
Right.
say is be like a duck, let it roll off the back,
Yep.
and don't move off your mark, women, when you
Yeah.
hear this. And I love that you said Temple, later I'm heading to Morgan State, a place that's going to embrace me. And
Yeah.
sometimes to grow, you got to move, you do need to move from an environment that will not foster your growth and innovation.
Right. And don't be afraid to make a major move like that. You know, you have to have a sense of self that I'm going to be at the right place at the right time.
Mm.
You know, so don't, ladies and gentlemen, don't linger on something negative. Stay with the positive. How can I turn this negative into a positive? And that's what I did. And
Mm.
it was a wonderful experience. Hello.
This is awesome. So, how has your own educational journey influenced your approach to leadership and development?
Well, I think I have to say it's my humanity. You have to have compassion, wisdom, understanding, and be reflective and realize that there are many voices in this leadership journey
Mm.
and that you bring people around you, not toxic people. I do not have any toxic people around me, but positive people that get the vision. That's the most important thing to me in leadership, that the people around you see the vision. So it's up to me as the executive director of the Black Farmers Cooperative that I explain and demonstrate the vision, and then they can tie into it.
That
And
is
then I bring them in different ways.
That is amazing. So, how do you balance, maybe at this phase in your life, your legacy work has blended work and your personal life together, but how do you balance the professional responsibilities with your personal commitments? Or are
Wow,
they
the
one and the
interesting
same now?
question. They're all, it's merged into one.
Interesting.
It's not separate.
Was it always like that for you, or did that become that way as you reflect back?
I think it was, as I reflect back, and reflecting is critical. It keeps you balanced. I think it was never about me. So it was always about what we wanted to accomplish, what needed to be accomplished, and how we can get it done. So it's always been about my humanity. If you really think about it, when you do a project, it should be about humanity and compassion, because that way you don't get detoured into a negative lane.
So, what I'm hearing you say, Auntie, is advice for me, and that is when you live your life's mission, it ceases to be professional responsibility. It seems like the lines about being blurry are less blurry when your work is aligned with your personal values and mission and vision.
Yes,
Is
it
that?
has to be aligned.
Mm.
That's how you stay balanced.
Ooh,
You know,
that's powerful.
that's right. Write that down. Put that on the list.
We got that written down. Okay, so
We
what
have an
about?
ongoing. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
Yeah,
you
we have
said
an ongoing joke at the Black Farmers Cooperative when they get on me because I text and email 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, I do a host of things. And then when I talk with them, I said, put it on the list of things to do. And that's every day. I'm thinking of things we can do to make things better.
it's amazing. So everyone,
Mhm.
so my auntie's been getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think we started since I can remember since 2010, right? When did the 4 o'clock in the morning start? I know it goes back to 2010 is when I started getting the 4 o'clock a.m. text.
It's just, I recognize in the morning, particularly, first of all, I was born at 5:06 a.m.
Oh, that's what.
So some night people were born at night. I was born in the morning at 5 o'clock. I now get up at 2:30. And yeah, I get up at 2:30 a.m. and I have clarity of thought. It's quiet, it's peaceful. I write a lot of grants, so I'm able to write. It's just what it is. But I do go back to bed, take a nap,
You're
you
so
know.
cute.
But I make sure I get plenty of rest and I eat healthy.
You are amazing. Amazing. Well, what advice would you give to someone who's mid-career? So think back to your
Mm.
mid-career time in life and where people might be today. You're one of the things I love, you're going to be 79, but you're dialed into the way the world is today, both from a technological perspective and otherwise. So what about someone who feels stalled in their career right now? Do you have some advice for them?
And just what I've been saying. You step back, you reflect, you find a mentor, someone to talk to, and be honest about it.
Mm,
And don't be afraid. People get stuck because of fear.
mm.
You have to be fearless. My book is called Faith Through Fearlessness, meaning that you're not afraid to take that first step and move forward. But if you're holding back, that means there's some fear there. You have to eliminate that and address that. Don't be afraid.
I
If
love
you make a mistake, it's okay. We have erasers.
gonna put that on my Instagram post so you know.
Right. Go
I,
ahead, take it.
so everyone, so you know, my auntie, who is my supporter, joined me at the Pennsylvania National Conference for Women. 10,000 women marched into Philadelphia's convention center, and we had a booth there. We were standing up this podcast. We were trying to create awareness for this with women leaders. And she got in the middle of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women and talked with them. And it was amazing. I appreciate you coming and spending the whole day promoting my business virtual partner in this initiative. Thank you.
But let me tell you, listeners, I got fussed at by Tiffany. She said I was doing too much talking and not enough promoting of She Rises.
Had so
But
much
we
fun.
worked it out. We worked it out.
So the tables were turned. That was when I wanted you to know what it was like when I was working in the restaurant and you were training me. Okay, Auntie, but
Yes.
I had this ambitious goal to shorten the leadership runway for women from the front door to the top floor in less than
Yes.
10 years. What's one way you can think that we can achieve this to make it easier, faster for women to not just get there, but be equipped when they arrive there?
Well, education is one.
Mm,
So you need to read, you need to take courses, but also I'm really big with people writing down a one pager their goals
mm,
and then checking in with it. Putting something in writing, it helps it to manifest.
mm.
So I think, for all the listeners out there, step back, do a one pager, write down what it is you like to accomplish. And even if you don't know, say, I would like to accomplish, and then put a question mark and then revisit it, but that forces you to think about it.
Mm. So
Mhm.
it sounds like for the first time of all the people that have been on the show, this is one of the moments where I'm hearing from an experienced woman to say, part of this is on you as a woman.
Yes.
If you want to shorten the leadership runway, part of it is how you show up and how committed you are to your own vision mission and being able to articulate that or at least have the question mark there like I know I want to go somewhere, I'm not sure where that is, and
Where I want to
starting with
go.
that at the front.
And also, to increase your leadership, start your own business,
Mm,
or help somebody else's, another female that's having a business.
Amazing.
volunteer. Be surprised ideas come out in various ways.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Mhm,
that. Okay,
mhm.
so now let's go global for a moment. So you have an international organization. How do you see the role of educational leadership in creating a more inclusive or diverse environment?
As you know, I'm big on education. Under the Black Farmers Cooperative and the Institute, we have monthly educational forums
Mm,
on a host of topics. You have to go into the community, pull the people out, and then provide them with information and resources for them to grow.
mm,
We have three projects right now going on, but one of them is called the Urban Bloom Garden Ambassadors Program. We are taking community members and bring them into the classroom, and we're showing them how to start a garden, how to do composting, how to build raised beds, and how to maintain the garden. 3 sessions. The interest in this is amazing. I had to shut the workshop down. I couldn't take any more people, right?
wow.
Because we have to learn to grow our own food. We have to learn to be independent thinkers.
Mm,
So, education is the key. All the listeners, find what you're interested in and research it. But right now, we're researching how to produce organic, healthy foods. Because one thing we got to do, we have to drink water and we have to eat. And we have to take responsibility for that because the way things are going, and it might not be as food may not be as prevalent as it is today. So if you have your own garden, your own farm, you're going to eat.
so this is interesting. Would you say, being in an urban environment, historically, that this is farmers have been in urban communities that are Black and brown? Have we been leaders in this space before? Or is it that now your organization brings awareness to leadership in this sort of
I think it's both. I
agricultural
think,
space?
yeah, I think we're bringing awareness to it, but there's always people of color have always had farms and gardens.
Mm,
Always. I grew up in our backyard on Paxton Street. We had a peach tree, a pear tree. We had grapes. My grandmother made wine. My grandfather, when I was little, had rabbits and ducks.
wow.
You know? So that farming, because they came up from South Boston, Virginia, but that farming concept is in our makeup to be able to farm and grow our own food.
Hmm, this is
So yeah, it's not just growing your own food. It brings about, like I talked about earlier, a sense of balance,
mm,
touching the earth. You know how they say get grounded?
yeah.
Well, touch the ground literally, and you get grounded.
You know, it's there is a TV program, I think it's on Netflix, called Getting Grounded. And it grounding, and it talks about the connection between standing on the earth and improving your sense of well-being and health and
Yeah,
mental clarity and
I
cancer
haven't seen it,
patients.
but I've heard about it.
Yeah, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, when she was going through her cancer treatments, we would do the grounding with her.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting, the connection between,
The earth and us.
and
Yes,
us, right? There is this connection. So thank you so much for bringing awareness to that. This has been an awesome call, an awesome
yeah,
session. There's This session has brought me so much happiness to be able to
me
connect with
too.
my second mom, my mom left us. She went to sleep
Yeah.
in 2010, and yet you have been, at my side since. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I'm also grateful for your example as a leader and in community development. So I want you to take a moment, Auntie, and,
Yes.
and think back to your 25-year-old self. What advice, as you reflect, would you give your 25-year-old self?
I would say work toward becoming financially independent
Mm,
so that you can do the things you want to do to help others.
I love it.
I would have gone into real estate as a side business.
As
Yeah.
your many businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would say financially independent, not for the sake of money, but so that you can do things to help others.
Mm,
Because there's so much in my head that I see that I want to do, but I'm not financially able to assist. I
mm,
do what I can, but
yes.
my 25 since my 25-year-old self, yeah, that's what I would tell me.
Excellent advice. One
Mm.
word on your view of leadership. I don't know if you can make it one word, but a few words on your word. How would you describe your view of leadership?
Transparency.
Love it.
Mhm.
Who's your superhero?
That's an interesting question. My mother.
Nana.
Nana, yeah, my mother. I watched her be a totally independent individual. She would walk up the steps hard. You could hear her coming up the steps, and she would get to the top. And I'm not exaggerating. And she would say, I'm the queen bee. She did. I'm the queen bee, and walk back to her bedroom. And she just had this confidence about herself. And she had businesses.
I remember our house. Remember it downstairs. She ran that thing downstairs.
That thing. We're gonna call it
We're
that
gonna
thing.
call it that thing.
Yes, she did. And
And it
that
was
Lord
fun. We
loved
always had customers, and we always had like spending money.
yeah, we never even thought twice about it because it was done so well and so quietly. Yeah, and it looked like a club down there,
It
you know?
did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she was a real businesswoman,
Mhm.
but I loved her independent spirit, and she showed that to us.
Mm, I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you for sharing that. All right, last one. What books are you currently reading, or what would you recommend?
I'm getting ready to publish my own book, Faith Through Quotes, and I hope to get that done in the next couple of months. So I'm going to promote my own book. Faith Through Quotes, and it's all about very powerful quotes that inspire.
I love it. So
Yeah,
as soon as that is ready, we will edit this and put the link to that at the
yeah.
bottom of this YouTube video. So anybody that hears this, if it's not published on there yet, please get in touch with me. We'll make sure you get a link to that. Auntie, I love your mission to
I
empower.
have my other book, Faith Through Fearlessness. You can put that, you can put that in there and they can reach out to me.
I will. I will. So faith through fearlessness and faith through quotes will definitely do that. And I'll probably be featuring some of those quotes as well. You have the best one-liners ever, ever. So I
Oh,
love.
here's one for you. Lead, lead with your brain, but follow your heart.
Mm.
Hmm.
You want to unpack that for us?
You got brain power and all that comes about, but your heart will give you the humanity. Yeah,
That is powerful. I love
yeah,
it, Auntie.
yeah,
I'm glad I asked you to unpack that because people could go anywhere with the follow your heart, but your connection to humanity. And for those of you who don't know my brand well, Virtual Partner, we inspire humanity in the workplace. So you've been hearing my auntie talk about humanity, but you can see really the inspiration for our family and what we're doing in business.
yeah.
Connection between humanity is there with all the women leaders in our family.
Yes. And thank you, Tiffany. I'm so proud of you. Listen to your audience. Tiffany has always been ahead of her time. I'm not just saying that because she's my niece, but she's been ahead of her time. Absolutely brilliant. So reach out to her and really support her. Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. Auntie, I love your mission to empower through advanced education. The last thing before you sign off, do you want to talk about your vision for the Institute and how you see it evolving in the future? I know you're not exiting anytime soon. I know you've named your successor for the Institute with Mo.
Yeah.
So where do you see this going? Because this legacy work is continuing.
The same thing we've been doing, healthy living. You have to eat and think in a healthy way. That's what it's really about. Simple as that.
Love it. Everyone, Auntie, I appreciate you being with me today. As we wrap up today's enlightening conversation, I want to give a heartfelt thank you to you for your mentorship, your love, your kindness, your humanity, your invaluable insights, and for sharing your experiences with us. Your journey.
Ren or John Ren.
It's time for you to go. Your journey. Your
Thank you.
dedication.
Love you.
Love you too. Thank
and
you.
Thank you, listeners.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
That's a wrap for today's episode of She Rises. I hope you found inspiration, insight, and the motivation to keep pushing forward on your leadership journey. Remember, success isn't about reaching the top. It's about lifting others as you rise. If you love this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other powerhouse women in your life. Follow me, Tiffany-O, and Virtual Partner for more resources on leadership, organizational growth, and creating workplaces where humanity thrives. Until next time, keep rising, keep leading, and keep making an impact.